I'm really excited about this guest that we have today on Thursday Throwdown. It was an honor when he accepted my invitation to come onto the show. I've been following our guest for years. He's a big part of why LifeLit Media, the company that I run when I'm not doing the show, has been so successful. So let's please welcome to the show the amazing David Meltzer. And if you don't know David, you really should go out and check out his Instagram and his amazing work that he's done. He is the driving force behind so many entrepreneurs and on his mission to get over 1 billion people to be successful. I mean, who has a mission that's what they want to see? They want to see other people be successful. So let's welcome to the show, Mr. David Meltzer.
Doing today?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So you've had an amazing career, especially in the sports world. And as everybody knows on our show, I'm a huge sports fan, work with a lot of athletes. We've worked with guys like Dennis Rodman and the like. And you have an amazing background coming from the sports world. And now you're out there just motivating us all. I know we kind of have some friends in the same place in the world. I always laugh when I go on your Instagram and I see half my client list telling you how awesome you are. So I was, but I followed you before them. For the record, I followed you before they did. I just noticed that they're on there, and you're quite an inspiration. What had you leave the sports world and get into the current world that you're in?
It started with the bug light approach in marketing that I learned from Lee Steinberg. So when I came as CEO of the world's most notable sports agency, I actually wasn't that interested in representing the athletes. I was more interested in what could we change by using the athlete as a bug light? What business could we change, business development, but most importantly, social change, charity, et cetera, and still make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. Because like you, I'm still a sports fan. And in fact, my later business partner, Warren Moon, one thing I loved about him is he's actually a sports fan. He's not just one of the world's greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he's actually, he would sit at my son's flag football game and, like a normal sports fan, he would talk the intricacies of what that 7-year-old should have done, which I'm sure you're shaking your head. Yes, you get what I'm talking about as a fan.
Oh, yeah.
And so when Warren and I built our business called Sports One Marketing, it was on that bug light approach in which we built, starting with him as a cornerstone bug light, being the first African-American quarterback in the Hall of Fame, the only quarterback in the Canadian and the U.S. Pro Football Hall of Fame, and using all the clients that we had from Lee Steinberg as bug lights to get business opportunities, all with the charitable purpose or cause tied to it. Well, when Warren turned 60 and things changed within the context of his, unbelievable work ethic, wanting to, raise his own kid, he has a younger child, and, spend more time doing what he wants to do, I had to step up, my son's brand as the bug light. And so it started there, and then it took off faster than I anticipated. I kind of had the same plan as Warren. I had a 10-year plan. I started when I was 50. I met Gary Vaynerchuk at the Super Bowl. He needed some assistance with his sports agency. I needed any type of assistance building a brand digitally. I wrote books and spoke and motivated people in the traditional sense, but I truly wasn't a global brand. And that's where the inception of, gosh. And then when I started, the cool thing, Eric, when I started actually getting traction and momentum, which you witnessed because you were there before all those other guys, you followed me, and, we're one of the few that turned into the many. The cool thing is business became a lot easier when I didn't have the middlemen. It was always a handoff or there was a dance between, hey, I want, Troy Aikman to be at this meeting, or I want this bug light to be here. And then, the bug light was kind of, he was there to attract the business, not necessarily to get the business done, if you know my difference. And where now I can get the business done. And so, I'm a one-stop shop. I stimulate interest, transition interest, and share the vision. And then my team does 80% of the work, which is managing and develop the vision to make it money, monetize it, help people, and have fun with it, so it thrives.
That's awesome. I mean, you truly, it's great that you talk about Gary, right? Because I think all of us just absolutely, Gary, so much, his Gariness. I don't know. Is that a word? Gariness. We're going to use Gariness. I've met Gary several times, especially in the working in the Bay, working in the Silicon Valley. He's such an inspiration, right? And I've taken, just like you, I learned from so many. And what I love about Gary is he's like, dude, be authentic. Like that was one of the questions. It's like, how do you separate yourself from all the noise, which is in athletics and leadership? CEOs of companies go through this. It's like, how do you, I don't want to say copy like Gary or somebody else, but how do you build your brand so you're very similar to Gary, but you're not Gary, right? Because we can all get on stage and drop F-bombs. That's not personally my thing. And yes, it's true. I'm a Marine, and me not dropping F-bombs is weird, but on a stage, I just don't do it. But Gary, that's Gary's style. And I loved how he was like, dude, don't be me. Be authentic. Be yourself. And then I see you doing the same thing. And one thing I want to make sure before we go any further is you have these amazing free Fridays that you've been talking about on Instagram that I'm just jonesing over, because you started advertising on Instagram for it. I was like, sweet, something A, free, which is of every entrepreneur's favorite word. And 2, it's from you. So, I mean, your background is amazing. The folks who have been on your terrific podcast, it's just, you know, who wouldn't want to show up for this? So tell the folks a little bit about that, because it's something that definitely, especially during these times we're all stuck at home, you know, where your free Friday comes into play.
Years ago, I started Friday trainings, which was mostly sales trainings, and they were free, and kind of the community picked up on it. They come for free lunch. Sometimes I thought they more came for the lunch than my training. And then 14 years ago, when I shifted the paradigm of my life to receive so I can give, not give so I can receive, to create value before I ask for it, and a variety of the topics that I talk about today, I went on a mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. That was my new mission, not to make over $1 billion like it was before, but to empower 1 billion people to be happy, to create a collective consciousness. My kids got a little bit older, started seeing teenage suicide. Then I did research and found middle-age suicide and the opiate addictions. And I was like, whoa, how can this many people want to kill themselves? There's a happiness problem, and happiness is my gene, man. That's my gig. That's what makes me me. Even when I was poor, I was happy. So in fact, the only time I wasn't happy was when I was buying the wrong things to impress the wrong people. And so those 14 years, once again, free lunches, mostly in my office and other places every Friday, to give lessons about the pragmatic world still. You know, I have some pretty hardcore pragmatic business advice, but also faith, how to blend your beliefs. And, you know, using Gary as an example, right? Gary and I are completely different in some respects because, you know, I see him as a great motivator. He'll get you up, he'll get you back up. I tend to be more on the longer term inspirational side where I want to get you there. I do say a few things that are motivational that get people up. You know, I tell a few good stories, but you know, Gary gets me up, man. Like I always say the first 10 minutes are so hard, and Gary V gets me going for those 10 minutes. I'll get you there after the first 10 minutes, but Gary's way better than I am at that, like super like F this, you know, let's get it, you know, hardcore Marine stuff. I love that stuff. It's just not me, right? It's not my frequency. I'm more a ferocious Buddha. You know, I'm ferocious about getting up, but I'm more the Buddha of, let me teach you how to allow and not quit at 25, 50, or 100%. Let me get you there. And so over those years, I've learned to find 1,000 people like you, Eric, that will come to my trainings, but also take it to the next step. Because I need, you know, 1,000 people in my life to teach 1,000 people, to teach 1,000 people the things that I teach, to be happy. So 1,000 times 1,000 is a million times 1,000 is a billion. What's so exciting to me is that when I first started the training and wanted to be a billionaire, nobody ever questioned me, right? I had made over $100 million. Nobody ever said, oh, you can't do that. But man, when I first started telling people that I want to change the world by creating a collective consciousness of happiness, people freaked out. They laughed at me, made fun of me. Now they don't anymore. They applaud me as well, and they want to be one of the 1,000 like you that are capable of doing it. And less people doubt me now about changing the world that way than they did about making $1 billion.
That's true. But, you know, one thing, David, I could say is once I found you and was made aware of who you were, number one, I loved your background. Number one, I'm a huge sports fan, so obviously that ties in. But I built a business off of what you talked about being gratitude and just simple little things. We've built a business the last 5 years that has changed our entire life, which is amazing for my family, for the folks that we employ, the folks we work with. And it's true. So I tell everybody about you and they're like, well, what's so true? And most people are like, oh, because he was in sports. That's usually, my friends know me so well. They're like, Okay, Eric, another person who fanboys, who knows athletes and loves, athletics as much as you. I'm like, that's part of it, but it's just your message. And I think that's what makes you and like Lewis Howes and even Bedros and especially Gary, of course. Gary's always positive, but each one of you guys has your own niche, right? Where you can watch all of you and take away something that changes your life or makes your life better. But your message is always like, I guess I relate to you because you're a dad, number one, so it's easy to relate with somebody who's a father who has kids. You get it. We're going through, our struggles are basically the same. We put our pants on the same as what I was taught in the Marine Corps, right? What's the difference between a general and a lance corporal? Not very much. We both wear the same uniform. We get up, we put our pants on the same way when we have the same mission. Just it matters how many people underneath you. As a lance corporal, you probably maybe have 5 people underneath you. As a general, you have thousands. So it's always interesting. But your take on leadership and giving back and doing it with, money is important, right? It makes the world go round, and you've never seen anybody crying on a jet ski. But you also talk about gratitude and being grateful for everybody that's around you. So, I mean, what advice do you have to folks these last 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks that we've literally, people are depressed. They have their heads and it's just, and we're in turmoil everywhere we go. The riots, the pandemic that seems to go away when there's riots. I don't even know how that works. But what's your advice to folks to keep their head up during these very tough times?
Yeah, I think we have to go to the certainties. What happens is it's a compressed uncertainty when the pandemic or the race riots or whatever else goes on. It compresses uncertainty and it illustrates accelerated change in a different context than we're used to. So it activates the amygdala in our minds. In other words, it creates a bigger fear-based conscious. It makes people have a need to be right, a need to be offended, a need to be separate, a need to be inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, worry, all of these things. And as I list them out, everybody kind of shakes their head and goes, yeah, I felt all of those ways in the last 12 weeks. And so what I suggest is when you're feeling that way, that's when you have to be the ferocious Buddha, right? You have to be aware and start listing out, taking inventory of your values to say, hold on a second, my thermostat in my life is the way I feel. When I'm worried or scared or angry or frustrated or separate or inferior or superior or shameful or any of these feelings of resentment that I may have right now, I need to stop. I don't need to accelerate in the wrong direction, create interferences, voids, and shortages that I'm going to have to pay the dummy tax for later on in life. Pain itself is only an indicator. It's a little blinker that's telling you, hey man, change directions. We got a lesson to teach you. You can get to a bigger and greater place by learning that lesson, finding the light in the situation. So what are the things that we are certain? Number one, our mindset, right? So if we can stop and say, what mindset should I have? And really trust the fact that I'm in control of my mindset. That is a certain. The second I call the heart set. How do I feel, right? We need to stop. And that's where now I can drop down. If I know my thermostat is the way I feel, my heart set, not my bank account, right? When the minute you start defining yourself by your bank account, you're on the wrong environment, in the wrong sphere. I've done it before. Everything defined me by my bank account. Now, bank account is only a piece of the mercury. It's a little bit of the ingredient of the mercury in my thermostat, but it's not my thermostat. So know your mindset, know your heart set. And then pragmatically, as you know, I love to mix in the pragmatic side of the generalities. Look, control what you say and what you hear. So I always tell people, control what you say, because the minute you start saying something, it starts to materialize, and I tell my children that all the time. Whoa, cancel, don't even say that, I'm going to fail no, cancel, right? We're going to do great. Things are going to happen in the right way at the perfect time. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. These are things that I love to say, but more than ever right now, you got to control what you hear. I tell people, seek. And if you don't write that word somewhere in your life, seek what you want, not just what you want, but what you hear. And so for me, if there's stable data that you need because of the compressed times of uncertainty and accelerated change, there's certain data that you probably want to know in your area, region, stock, hospital facts or testing, or there's certain data you want to hear. Go seek it. Don't leave it on in the background, inundating you all day long. Trust the sources that you want to trust, but go seek it. Once or twice a day is enough. Go find the information you need. If you want to check the stock market, go ahead, check it once or twice a day. right? But don't let it all in your back ear, because when it goes way up or goes way down, it's going to move the way you feel. Look, unless you're going to sell, you shouldn't be worried about it anyway. The day that you want to sell, make your mind up and give yourself a price, and then put a stop hold on that price. You know, the stock market is one of the biggest soul suckers in the world. It will suck, and it has me, real estate and stocks. Once I figured out how investments suck my soul dry of my energy and my focus and my attention and my intention, I started making serious money, because I put all of those energies into just making money. And then I found vehicles that just saved my money and made, on a down market, my money always makes 2%. On an up market, it makes like 60 or 70% of what everybody else makes. But I never have to pay any attention. The first time the market dropped, I didn't know until people started texting me, dude, I lost 400 grand. Oh, I lost this. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember those days. And guess what? I'm giving no energy to it. If you need my help, I'm happy to help you, but I'm not sitting there all day long, not working, because I'm looking at my stock market and figuring out how much I've lost or how much I've gained. And I can't tell you how much money I lost figuring out how much I lost or how much I gained. A lot of millions. So be in control of your mindset, your heart set, of course, what you say and what you hear. And then lastly, you have to be of what you do, which is what you think, say, do, believe, the unconscious competencies you have. You have to be in control of practicing ending fear. You've got to make it a lifelong journey. Like I said, pain is just an indicator: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial pain, all just indicators that you have a lesson to learn. And the better that you feel about learning those lessons, finding the light, the love in those lessons. In other words, having a lens of productivity, how much value are you going to provide today? Accessibility, how accessible am I to help others, and how am I accessing what I want? In other words, how effectively am I asking others, do you know anybody that can help me? And then finally, a lens of gratitude, which is simply a lens. Gratitude allows you to find the light, the love, and the lessons and everything. Let me just tell you, I have dream jobs. I'm sure, Eric, there's times when you first met me going, man, I'd love to have that guy's job. I don't know anyone, and I've been around the biggest celebrities, athletes, entertainers, CEO, billionaires, all types of politicians. Every single one of them hates a portion of what they do. But what makes them all successful, the best of the best, is they've learned to love what they don't like. They've learned to love that percentage of whatever you are. If you're the sidewalk sweeper, if you're the teacher, if you're a multi-billionaire who owns the Dodgers, you've learned to love the stuff that stinks. And that's the key to life. And the lenses that allow you to do that is productivity, accessibility, and gratitude.
That's true. I love that. And you're right. I mean, all of those things are so key to get you through these dark times. And people ask me the same question, Eric, how come you haven't been like sad and downtrodden? Well, one, I thank the Marine Corps, because this last 9 weeks was nothing compared to military service at all. It's like, what? Like, and even the guys I work with, working with these athletes who are at home, they're the same way. They're like, this sucks, but we'll get through it. And I find it funny because here you are talking about it, and it is amazing. I will give you this. A lot of athletes listen to you. Like, there's this circle of athletes, like, what you talk about, it resonates. You're not just up there just like, hold on, robotic. I'm just going to say, you're up there and you live what you talk about. Where so many people, we have so many coaches out there, right? Everybody's mini U's and mini Lewis's and mini Gary's and mini little Ed's and mini Bedros. I don't think anybody could be a mini Bedros. I don't think that's possible.
Although like I said, I want to copy his laundry room. He has 2 dryers and 2 washers in his laundry room. And I was like, whoa! I've never even thought of that. That's genius.
That is a good idea. That don't tell my wife that. That's the next thing we'll have in the house. I keep doing all this honeydew projects around here.
I'm trying to take out the cabinets so I can stack.
Yeah, there we
go. I don't have enough room. I don't have enough room like Bedros to put them wide.
Yeah, you see, I have barbershops in your house and everything. That's what everybody's doing now. It's the cool thing to do. But one of the things, I work with a lot of veterans, right? And I've been turning a lot of them towards you, because I find your message, I mean, number one, it's helped me build a business, but it's also helped me when there's times where I'm like frustrated, or I want to feed the trolls, as I call it. Those folks that show up and they got nothing better to do than just hate on whatever we're talking about. And our success it's like bad to be successful. Like the moment that I always quote, unfortunately, a non-famous celebrity anymore, but talked about when you reach a certain plateau, send the elevator back down, or rising tide lifts all boats. I believe in that, and you get criticized. So I've been turning a lot of veterans towards you because your message is one that we need to hear as vets. And two, to be somebody outside the veteran community going, look, hold your head up. You talked about mental health. You talked about suicide. I know you're aware of the plight of the veteran, which is vet suicide. So for those vets who watch our show, and we have a lot, we have a show on Mondays called Military Mondays, which in its sense is first responders and vets. And we talk about this all the time. I really would love just to take a little portion of time here so we could talk about the vet community, even our first responders, because even the badge is being affected by suicide and heavy rates. And when I add first responders, we've actually added the healthcare workers to this, because we've had this. I mean, they've always been heroes to all of us, but now they're included in this first responder because they've been so key to us during the pandemic. What's your, how do we stay above board when it comes to not getting in such this dark place? Where do we turn besides calling? If you're suicidal, let's just make it clear, call the 1-800 number and get help immediately. But to keep your mental health going good, I always suggest you and a few other folks, but you're primarily my go-to just because your energy and everything about you, it's like you're not faking it. So I mean, what's your advice to vets?
So anyone in that type of arena, and I always say the arena is somebody that has put others' lives in front of them. And I do that economically. It changed my life, meaning I've never done what you've done, Eric, or our great vets or the first responders. And I'm so grateful for all of you, because I've only done it economically, where I said to myself, you know what? I don't care about paying my bills. I want to pay other people's bills. Not heroic, not like the horses of fire who would stand there and burn to save other people. And nobody will ever know what that's like unless you are a vet or a first responder, someone that, and it could be a subtle thing of somebody that's going in right now to hold a hand of someone that's dying because their family can't be around them, putting their own self at risk to comfort someone else. And I get choked up talking about it because it means that much to me. So how do we help when anybody feels depressed, anxious, frustrated, angry? These are all the same emotions. They just are coming out in a different way. You have to go help somebody else. I have simple, first of all, I'm not a guy who will just throw out the pleasantries of, well, look at the glass half full, man. What are you talking about? Why are you depressed? So what? You're broke and your wife left you and you're angry all the time and you have headaches and your spine hurts and, you have dreams at night about shit that you saw when you were, here. And these are real stories that my family, my extended family gives me every day. And I'm like, you know what, bro? I'm going to tell you, you're in for a great enjoyment. And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, you're in for a great enjoyment to consistently every day, persistently without quit, pursue your potential within the guise of what you've experienced. All of us are damaged in the way that we are. It can either make you stronger or it can disrupt you. So there's two types of environment. An engine is closed. If you want to be an engine in a closed environment, when you have this disruption, it will shut you down. In other words, it will kill you. I promise you, if the engine has disruption, it will shut down and won't work anymore. But if you want to live in the expansive world of pursuing your potential, not my potential, right? There's certain things that you'll never, ever in this lifetime, none of you out there can do something that I can do. That's my own potential. But there's a ton of shit that you can do that I'll never, no matter how hard I work, no matter how great I want it, my potential is not your potential, Eric, and you're better at it than I am. And LeBron James, we know what his potential is that he's better at than me too. Yeah. And, that's cool. But what I want you to do is, how do we find or get started? First of all, the first 10 minutes suck at everything. So what's the best thing we can do? If you're feeling that way, go find somebody to help, go deed. It's the truth. And the truth vibrates the fastest. This is a vibration. It's a conditioning that doesn't allow you not to look at the glass half full. But I promise you, when you feel the worth of your humanness, of connected to everybody, knowing that not only are you not alone, but a tree doesn't have any branches. One tree would not go to war against another branch. You'll see. And when you just go out, even if you don't have someone to help, and you just I had my wife by me, and she called me an old man by this. I'm 52. I bought, for my birthday, all I wanted was a trash poker. Do you know what that is?
Oh, yeah.
Which actually been really handy with COVID. But she's like, you got to, because I go on walks with my wife so that we can get away from the 4 kids and try to find a center of what the hell's going on in our house. We're sharing stories and figuring out the truth. But It pisses me off in my neighborhood that people would litter in my own neighborhood. So sometimes I can't help anyone because of my state of mind. And if anyone has 3 teenage daughters, I'm not a vet, but at least you know my challenges. I literally poke trash and carry trash. And it sounds stupid. It makes me feel really good. If I put a cart back at the grocery, or I talk about all the time, be kind to your future self, do good deeds. I loved it the other day. I went to the grocery, I put the cart back, and some dude drove by, rolled down his window. He's like, "Oh yeah, Dave Meltzer, you walk the walk." And my wife's like, "What the heck did you do?" I'm like, No, I did a good deed." She's like, "What'd you do that's so good?" I'm like, "I walked back the cart." So he goes, "Really?" I was like, "It makes me feel good." And the more you feel good, you're conditioning and attracting yourself to understand the thermostat of life is how you feel. And I want everyone, whether you're a vet, a first responder, or just depressed because you're a teenager, don't quit. Don't be one of the 99% at 25% that feels stuck and quit. Don't be one of the 99% of the 1% that gets to 50% and quits. Don't be the person who gets to 99% of the way there and just runs out of gas and doesn't listen to Gary Vee to get back up, or Dave Meltzer to get the rest of the way there. Don't quit. Go do a good deed. You can always start again tomorrow, but go do the good deed. That will give you that 10 minutes that you need to get back on your way.
I love that you bring that up because people, they always talk about like average Joes, right? Us average human beings, about falling out of love of what you do. And I always give the comparison. Now I'm going to give away. I live in the Pacific Northwest, diehard Rip City follower, love me some Dame Lillard. But Rodney Hood, he came here on a trade last season in our playoff run, and the city fell in love with him. He hit some big shots in an amazing 4 overtime playoff game. But Rodney said why he stayed here and why he loved Portland and fell in love with the game again, which was crazy to hear an athlete say, like, dude, I was done. Because a lot of people look at them as, they're making stupid money. I mean, that's just the world giving it. But it's good to hear even an athlete be like, I fell in love because people were positive around me and just a community lifted them up. And you see the same thing with like LeBron and who was it? They were all bike riding in LA last week. I mean, how average Joe is it to see LeBron, who to me is a little bit of everything in the world, not just an athlete. I was laughing when you brought him up. What's he good at? I was like, what is the guy not good at? I mean, he's amazing for what he
Greatest
does.
athlete of all time.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, I like Jordan too, but I'm aging myself.
No, Jordan's the greatest winner and more competitive than LeBron. But as far as athletes, strength, skill, hand, I've been around them all. Nobody can run as fast and as strong, hand-eye coordination, the whole package of an athlete. That guy could probably play any sport he wanted.
Over Mamba? I mean, I'm a huge Kobe fan. Okay,
I'm a huge Kobe fan too, but LeBron's just stronger, bigger, and he has this more. He's actually faster than Kobe was.
Oh, really? Wow.
4.440.
I didn't even know that. Now I'm just geeking out. We're going to go off topic suddenly because Eric's going to be like, but Kobe was so scrawny and he could go down. I mean, sorry. I love Bron. I've met him. I have my own Bron story that's completely different. We met at a restaurant here in Portland. But, he was so cool and average. And like people always ask me, oh, when you're around these athletes, I mean, you probably get the same thing. There's average Joes. I mean, you're around them. They're normal people. I mean, here in the Pacific Northwest, people are blown away. They go to a Costco and run into Dame Lillard. They're like they're normal human beings. And this is a different market. Obviously in LA, it's probably different. If LeBron walks into a grocery store, it's probably mayhem. But in the Pacific Northwest, it's a little different. And LeBron's taller than Dame. Dame blends in well. He's like 6'1". Yeah. So it's like, who's a little dude with a hoodie on, just kind of cruising around town. But anyways, before you go, one last thing. When it comes to like, what would you give somebody starting a business, right? There's a lot of people who are unemployed. So instead of sitting on their butts now, they're trying to build a business. And I think we need encouragement. So I pointed people towards you, obviously. As you could tell, I point a lot of people towards you because you've inspired my business. And our business went from literally an idea to a concept of my wife and I to we have 20 employees that we're proud of. We work with amazing people. We're a global company. And it's because you had so many, you and Gary, but you specifically, because your encouragement was when I'm sitting up in the middle of the night stalking people on Instagram. Sorry, that's what we do. It's those middle of the night, you're sitting here with the lights on in your office and you're like, holy crap, am I doing the right thing? And then you hit my Instagram feed and it's like, what? Oh, wow, I didn't think of it that way. What advice do you give to these folks who are now looking to create something because they see those of us who have our own businesses. And we always know this isn't a get rich quick thing. You know, it took years for you to build your business, me to build mine. Everybody we've mentioned here, even Gary. Nobody got this. It was, I mean, I know people think Gary just, dad handed him money and Gary just built VaynerMedia, which we know is not true. And what's your advice to these folks that need to lift their heads up and create this business and they fear this failure thing, that everybody talks about, oh my God, I don't want to fail. And me in the military, it's like failure. That's how we move forward. I mean, that's our history.
Fail forward. Exactly. That's how we learn the lesson. So I think you hit on two things. One is focus in on your capabilities. And so capabilities consist of your skills, your knowledge, and your desire. The common denominator between me, you, all the people that you mentioned, and the people that are successful in sports entertainment and in anything, they have desire to must be what they can be, period. So if you don't have a desire that you must be what you can be, then work on that first. When you are sure that you have that desire, that you must be what you can be, that's the spine, right? That's the heart, the soul of what you're going to do. Now, go look and see what capabilities that you have, skills that you have, and knowledge that you have, and make and see what synergistic or supplementary capabilities you need in order to effectuate the business that you think you're going to have. And then look and see what capabilities, meaning skills and knowledge, that you need or want. And then go find the person that already has it and ask them for help, right? So what we do is an ask and attract strategy in person, on the phone, via email and media, radio, print, TV, and social media. Always asking, hey, how can I be of service or value, which you do so well, Eric? But more importantly, if I can push anybody into one concrete, pragmatic way to be successful, instead of thinking that everybody's a gatekeeper, that they stand in your way, that you must overcome them, overwhelm them, oversell them, you don't have to. What you can do is treat them like a sponsor. Hey, do you know anybody that can help me? And sometimes somebody will actually be a power sponsor. They're going to say, you know what? I can help you, and I know somebody that can help you. If you do that every day, and you're very cognizant of your personal values and take inventory of all of your values aligned with these objectives of skills, knowledge, and desire, and you're able to maintain that desire that you must be what you can be, it's just a matter of segmentation now. And when I say segmentation, you know what I'm talking about. That's 17 and a half years. It may take you 10 years to get to 25%. Don't vote for what other people want. Vote for what you want. It may take you another 5 years to get to 50%. Definitely, you're going to be one of the 1% that make it there. Don't quit there just because everybody's telling you you can't live in your car. You're going to get divorced. You're going to lose everything. Don't do it because you're only 2.5 years on average from being 100% of the way there. Then 1 7/8 from being 200, half that from being 400, half that from 800. And that's where the hockey stick starts growing and accelerating. Your brain, your memory, and your own senses are not strong enough to pick up incremental growth. If you feel stuck, that means you're growing and accelerating. When your shoes get tight, that means your feet are growing, right? Your feet are stuck. They don't feel stuck if they're not growing. So say to yourself, oh, this is a good sign. I may not be where I want to be yet, but that'll come at the right way at the perfect time. But I'm growing and accelerating, and I know two things. Both things grow and speed up at an exponential rate, meaning it may be 2 miles an hour today, but it could be 4 miles an hour tomorrow, 8 miles an hour the next day. It may be 4 inches or 4 millimeters or 4 micrometers today. It'll be 8 tomorrow, 16, 32. So go ahead. I always call it the segmentation of 20. Take the smallest increment that you think you're accelerating or growing and times it by itself 20 times and see where you can be in just 20 simple segments. Whether each segment takes a year or each one takes a week, each one a month, it doesn't matter. Think about years. I did it by years. I was like, by the time I'll have over 1 billion people happy, I promise.
I love it, man. I just want to sit here and just talk to you forever. Can we just do that? Just sit here and you can just talking to you in person is better than Instagram. I will tell everyone out there if you're curious. It is much better talking to David in person. His Instagram's great, but
join me Fridays, man. Training, get some Q&A going. I'm here for everyone. 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. I appreciate the opportunity, my brother. Let's do this again.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much, David. Everybody, Fridays, check it out. Stop by, check out his Instagram, give him a follow. David, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on the show. All of our vets and everybody, all of our listeners and viewers, well, I'm sure will be attacking your Instagram not that you need more followers, but yeah,
Just
to get more.
ambassadors, brother.
Yeah.
Ambassadors.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank you
brother.
so
I
much.
appreciate you.